If you had asked me when I was in my 20s to tell you one thing about my life when I was in my 50s, well, first of all, I probably couldn't have imagined being in my 50s, but if I had been able to stretch it just a little bit and imagine that, I probably would have said that the one thing I knew that would be true is that I would be living with other people. I remember that when the word came down that we would be sheltering in place, because I was tracking this so carefully as we've continued to do all these weeks, I found myself quite fearful for a while. Because of an early loss, I had a lifelong fear of living alone, and so I didn't for the vast majority of my life. In fact, I would say that the circumstances of the last couple years, which found me doing that truly for the first time ever, has been quite a journey. And as I thought about this upcoming shelter in place, perhaps a few weeks before others did, because we were so much paying attention, I remember I was feeling quite fearful about that. What would it be like, this sheltering in place by myself? What I didn't anticipate, of course, was how incredibly busy I would be and how the ways that we're gathering now would take a lot of time and would provide a sense of comfort and connection, so that some days, truly, I honestly feel as if I don't have enough time to myself. Many days, in fact. I do, though, take that time every single day. I'm very conscious of it. Because I realized early on that whatever qualms or concerns I had about it, whatever unaddressed sorrows or regrets I had, they were all going to live with me too, and they were not my ideal housemates. So I set about having a firm conversation with them about their place and mine, and while I too long for the days when I will see friends and family more easily, and when we'll be able to be together and do things in the ways that we love to do, I have to say that there have been gifts in this time. Because what I know now is that being on my own has invited me into a deeper relationship with myself, and I take that invitation almost every day. I step into my own life more fully, even in this incredibly busy time, perhaps the busiest time I've ever had in my life. Some days, what I do is just walk around and look at things that hold memories of other people, of my former careers, which meant so much to me, especially in nonprofit leadership and development. They remind me of other places I have lived where perhaps I had a different or deeper sense of community than I do here. I've reflected on those parts of myself that I haven't nurtured as much in recent decades, and I've vowed to reconnect with them. I have taken care of my physical self, walking almost daily, and recommitting to my practice of yoga. I've enjoyed getting to know my two dogs, not as pets, but as beings who have their own predilections and their own sources of joy, and it's been quite pleasurable to indulge them and watch their personalities unfold. I have begun to think about reconnecting with different ways of reducing stress. I've invented a solitaire version of dominoes, though don't ask me the rules because I think I change them every time. However, the clicking of the tiles is very satisfying to me. I think there are many things that I have learned in this time. And when I talk to others who are grappling with too many other bodies and needs in their space, I'm reminded that I am actually very privileged to have this time of sheltering, though I would not have believed that even a couple weeks ago. It has been a great privilege to have this space to reconnect with my own life. So, as your minister, one of the things that I have gotten to hear is all the different ways that you all have been making the best of things and reframing, and all the ways that you've been challenged, no matter what your circumstance, whether you're sheltering alone, whether you're sheltering with a partner, whether you're with a family and looking for space alone, whether you are with a roommate or roommates, or whether you are in an assisted living. situation, whatever you are doing, we are hearing that there are many different opportunities and also many different challenges. As a community, it is such a great joy to be able to learn from one another's perspective and to know that we help hold everybody. So for today, I'm dropping our stones in honor of all these different situations. Have those times in which this sheltering
We
in
invite you now
place,
to join.
what is more difficult for us? So on Friday, I drove down to see my mother and to stand in the parking lot with her for just a little while. She is not doing well. She has pneumonia right now, though she's on the mend. And it was great to see her. And it was also, in some ways, heartbreaking. I was late going to see her because a friend of the church who is unhoused had his home truck confiscated and was left with nothing by the side of a Concord street. And in my conversations around that, I was struck by the kindness of every person I interacted with in that exchange individually. The man in the tow lot, the police officer, the emergency responder who had to tell me that there are no emergency services for people like our friend because of COVID. And I was also struck by the inhumanity of the system prioritizing property owners over people during a pandemic. This is how our days go these days. We're glad that people are working again and shocked that they won't wear face masks. We're glad that the curve in our area has been so amazingly flat and sorrowful that it means that we will have to be together in a different way. We are glad that the people that we know have not been affected and mourning with those who have suffered loss. We are glad that we are learning to be together in new ways, and we're eager to return, as Beverly Borton said, to those days when we can be together in the ways we know and now will cherish so much. We are celebrating our new learnings and thinking about more meaningful ways we can be together in these coming months. And we're sad to know that worship and celebration, as we knew it in February, is still a ways away. Our engagement with this emerging world is like that. We're always asked to live in the nexus between gratitude and sorrow, between joy and longing. We are invited to be compassionate and generous, no matter whether we are sheltering with someone or alone. We are asked to honor that spirit of peace, which inspired our Unitarian ancestor, Julia Ward Howe, to conceive of this day not as a day of commercial tribute, but as a Mother's Day of Peace, which was about giving mothers the ultimate gift, the freedom of keeping their children alive and away from the battlefields. In our times, I think we are called to carry that gift forward in a slightly different way. For though we may wish that hard times come again no more, we know that there still are some difficult days, and for some of us, some heartbreaking days ahead. How can we be more empathetic, forgiving, and loving towards one another? Dan Gilbert in the Happiness Project, that is his book, he studied the scientific realities around happiness. And actually, what he's found is that happiness is not just about getting what you want or having things be positive all the time. It's about having the ability to reframe towards what you need for happiness, no matter what the circumstances. It's that inner gift, he says, that we all have, which allows us to take what we're given and figure out a way to find whatever kernel of joy can be found within that to sustain our own spirit. It is a survival skill we all have within us. And we're teaching one another through our different frames. Maria Popova, a writer and blogger and wise person generally, says this: the true material of knowledge is meaning. The meaningful is the opposite of the trivial, and the only thing we should have gleaned by skimming and skipping forward in looking at the future is really trivial. The only way to glean knowledge is contemplation, and the road to that is time. There's nothing else. It just takes time and attention. There's no shortcut, she says, for the conquest of meaning. And ultimately, it is meaning that we seek to give to our lives. So as these weeks go on, we will have disappointments and loss. We will want to act out of old behaviors. We will want to act out. We will want to resist those that are telling us things that we can do or can't do. We will look to try to control the world because there's so much that we used to be able to control just about the rhythm of our own lives that we can't continue to control right now. We will want to be rageful at people because of situations. We will want to touch and hug and share food and sing together. And we will want our beloveds around so that we can do this over the long term. You know, for me, the loneliness that I haven't been feeling came back to me in that parking lot, looking at my mother with love and distance. And I know we all have those moments. And I really appreciate those of you that are connecting with each other in any number of ways to share those moments with each other the way that we would have if we'd been able to gather physically more in these days. In these days ahead, we are all invited to find that which has meaning and to take that meaning within our own lives, to simply listen to the stories of others with deep empathy and to find some way that we can give back, perhaps to someone who's in a different situation than we are. Meaning, not just busyness, but meaning. As we continue on this path, we now may be asked to examine the truths of our own lives. You know, when you're a minister, everything looks like the opportunity for spiritual growth. And it might just be that this is, because every day we face choices that allow us to determine how we will live for ourselves and for each other, and how we will find meaning in this odd time in which we are in. This is an age of paradox, of multiple truths, and of ethics at every moment, a time when we face choices that are critical to our own well-being and the well-being of others every day. And as we can, let us, with Julia Ward Howe, choose peace, the peace of well-being, the peace of love, the peace of real connection, which cannot be defied by distance. May we be the ones to make it so.